I've seen people live in the presence of God, women of God, on fire for God. Full over now. This one is a preacher of note. There's a place where they are going. But because Agaku guy in the church, they leave the presence of God. Umfundisi would say, encounter at, they leave the presence of God and they go take a peek like the prodigal son. Don't ask us when are you getting married. I'm looking at them on camera. Do not ask a single lady when are you getting married, because remember how do you go marathon? You see perfection. Even when this guy or this girl is full of flaws, you don't see that. So now my appeal to the Church of Jesus, let me say it on camera, is
welcome to another edition of Mindset Prophets. There's a topic that came up recently in a chat with some friends, and they were talking about challenges that entrepreneurs go through. I didn't think one of them would be failing to handle single life. A lot of people find themselves throughout life, for whatever reason, single at some point. It's a phase that everyone goes through in life. But it's a phase that many don't handle well. And it's a phase that because of that failure, many end up sabotaging themselves in so many ways. So I have someone who decided to say, let me join you on the podcast. I have a lot to offload. Welcome, Pastor Khali.
Thank you. I don't know if I said I'm coming or he said I must come, but I'm here. And thank you for having me.
One way or the other, you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm here.
This is an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Why?
Because nobody wants to talk about it. No. Everybody shies away from it, but it's life's reality. It's part of life. Singleness, it's part of life. Nobody wants to be associated with it. I think, over the years, I will speak for in the Christian community especially, because I grew up around the Christian community. I think the whole issue around has become too stigmatized.
Okay.
We grew up in an era, Rona, when we got saved, where it would almost seem like after getting saved, the next best thing that must happen is to get married. And it's like when we're not getting married, there must be something wrong that you are doing. So I think that there has been a lot of stigma that has been built around it within the church. And maybe also within families. There has been a lot of stigma built around it. When you're not getting married as a woman, it's like there's something wrong you are doing. So I think that's why sometimes it has become an interesting topic. It has been. Yeah.
It's not the first time you're being called to talk about this.
Many times. I feel like I've become your ambassador. I feel like I've become the ambassador of singleness. It's not the first time. I've been called a lot of times to talk about it. But look, I guess it's because that's the life I have lived for so long. Maybe. Yeah.
How is it for you, though, personally, handling that phase of your life?
Look,
because I'll tell you why I'm asking. A lot of people, when they are single, they feel so under pressure to be in a relationship. They start off at this, I've got a checklist of 10 things that I want.
Yeah.
But after 1 year, the list is 8 things. Maybe the other 2 I can check off. After 2 years, now there's 5 things only that I need.
Yeah.
And after 3, 4, 5 years, maybe I just need one thing.
Just one.
The checklist is changing. And because of that, a lot of people end up then in relationships that actually drag them down in other areas of their life.
I think it boils down to the same thing that I said, that there's a lot of stigma built around singleness. It's almost as if when you are single, there's some sort of incompleteness in you. And society also has made a lot of women believe that, such that you end up feeling incomplete even if you did not want to. You'll end up seeing yourself as being this incomplete person, even if you know you are not. But if you ask me personally, how have I managed to navigate it? I'll be honest with you. As a young woman growing in the church, I've been under that pressure myself. I have gone through that phase of feeling incomplete, feeling like you don't belong, feeling like there's something wrong with you. I've been under that. But I think growing in the Lord has helped me a lot. It helped me to know, to discover myself more, who I am, helped me to embrace my identity, to also embrace my journey with God. To also embrace, I think I came to a point and a level in my life where I had to understand that all of us, we have races to run. And there's a scripture that says you must run the race that has been marked out before you. I think for now, the grace I had was to come to that level of my life at some point of understanding that everyone has a race marked out before us. And unfortunately, some of us, your race is going to have to involve living a single life. There's nothing wrong with that. I think now I found that grace. Yauri Mudimu has said to the Holy Spirit has said to teach me and help me to also understand it's possible that it's part of the journey. And I must say to my preachers out there, I don't want to say my pastors. I don't want to sound like I'm talking to my specific pastors, but I'm just talking to every man of God, every leader of the church.
This happens in many churches anyway.
To every leader of the church out there to say, it's good to talk about marriage. It's good to encourage people to get married, but let's not talk about it like it's the ultimate goal. Such that if naketlo fitla ke le Khali ke re, but I think maybe this is part of my journey. I sound like I don't have faith. I sound like I've given up. It's not giving up. What if this is my journey? Apostle Paul decided this was going to be my journey. There was nothing wrong with that. So let's not it's good that as a church, as the body of Christ, we must encourage people to get married because we know marriage is an institution.
It's a good thing,
instituted by God. But let's not talk about it like it's the ultimate goal, because then I think that's where the stigma comes from. That's where the sense of incompleteness comes from. That's where this lack of confidence from a lot of people comes from.
If you were to be on the pulpit and speak about this, what would you change? How would you say it differently? Because on the one side, you want the people listening, the young people listening, to want it as part of their journey, and at least to think marriage, because it's a good thing that was instituted by God, I want to get married at some point. But then there's someone who's single and has been waiting for a while. How would you encourage that person? Because you're trying to balance. Do I tell them it's going to happen one day? Or you're saying preachers should just ignore it and not talk about it?
This is what I normally tell young adults.
Yeah.
To say marriage, it's a blessing just like buying a car, it's a blessing just like buying a house, it's a blessing just like getting a job, it's a blessing just like flourishing in a business, it's a blessing.
Okay.
But the bottom line is not all of us are going to be business people.
Yeah.
Not all of us are going to drive cars. Not all of us are going to own houses. So in the same way, I always tell young people that, look, it's something that you must aspire to do. But the bottom line is not all of us are going to get married. It's part of life, unfortunately. It's part of life. And if it does not happen, don't sit on your corner more, Mudimu has abandoned me. You know, I am incomplete. Something is wrong with me. There's nothing wrong. It's just maybe one of those blessings that just never came your way.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. So that's always what now I always would tell young people: aspire to get married. And when you have an opportunity to get married, but if it does not happen, don't sit in a cage. There's something that's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just your journey.
What kind of mistakes have you seen people make because they were single?
Getting married under pressure. Getting married for pressure. Getting married because biological clock is ticking. Getting married because the family is sitting on your... I mean, I come from a family... my mom is born from a family of 10. It was 3 girls and 7 boys. So I had 7 uncles. So each time those are questions that will always pop
Where is
up.
Mkwenyan?
It's always questions that pop up. So I've seen people getting married because of the pressure that they get even from the family itself. And they were never even ready. One of the things I've learned in my journey of Christianity as well, I so much wanted to get married. I think when I was 28, that's when you start to panic. You know, and you think you are ready. But I realized, Hori, even from the church I was at, there was little teaching on marriage. There was so much little of equipping us as young women for the life I had. And I only get to realize now that I'm in ministry, I get to realize how people got married very young and not equipped for it. Not even understanding what they were doing. They were only getting married because the church says so. Because the church says it's the right thing to do. Because the family says, because this guy has proposed. But you realize that the person never really searched themselves to identify if I really know what marriage is, do I even know what I'm going to do there? So those are some of the mistakes, Taylor, I have picked up from a lot of people.
Do you think a part of it is if you are single, because there's a difference between single and content and single and desperate?
Yeah.
Do you think because you're single and desperate, you're more vulnerable to ending up with the wrong person?
You are. That's also one of the mistakes. Single and desperate. That's also one of the mistakes that I've seen people doing. It's a danger zone. And unfortunately, Motuhale at that point of being single and desperate, they don't even see it. Because the pressure says, where's my biological clock? I want to be there. Single and being desperate. People jump into marriages even with the wrong people. I mean, I've seen people live in the presence of God. Women of God. On fire for God. Full over now, this one is a preacher. No, there's a place where they are going. But because Agaku guy like in the church, they leave the presence of God. Umfundisi would say, encounter at, they leave the presence of God and they go take a pig like the prodigal son. And they want to come back with a pig. And the prodigal son came back with nothing. But when they come back from the distant country, they want to bring a pig with them. And have a feet in the presence of God. I brought a big corn.
My pig.
Please, they don't even call it a pig. The desperation says, I have found a bacon. And they say, Mfundisi, please bless my bacon. It's the desperation. It will take you out of the presence of God. And then you want to drag this person here. And eventually you realize, but because we are unequally yoked, this thing does not work.
But surely it can't be that easy as in just a decision. If you find yourself desperate, it can't be that easy to stop being desperate.
That's the unfortunate thing. A lot of times I think people who are desperate, they don't see. I will see the desperation in you through your actions and all that. But a lot of times because inside of you, there's this passion or I want this thing. You don't necessarily see the desperation. That's why you will make irrational decisions. That's why sometimes even when we are trying to say, can we pray? Let's pray. Let's interview this guy. Let's talk. Let's interview this lady. Let's search him. You wouldn't want to hear that because desperation is brewing inside you and you don't even see that.
How do I stop then? What advice would you have for someone if let's say you find someone single and desperate and they say, I want to be like you. I want to be this happy and content with my state of singleness.
You know what I've found worked for me over the years? It's always good. The journey, your life in general. You need people around you. You need people that are going to be able to call you into order when you're out of order. You need to have people that you can develop that type of relationship with them. People who will be able to show you the wrong and you trust them and their judgment so much that you know when they point out the wrong to you, you can be able to see. I think now that's what has worked for me. My journey of life and my journey of Christian life, I've always surrounded myself with people that I know I can be accountable to. Such that even if a guy comes and says, can I take you out on a date? And if I have to come and disclose it, I will disclose it to somebody that I know I trust this person and I know I will trust their judgment. So that even when they see, because remember, how do you go marathon? You see perfection. Even when this guy or this girl is full of flaws, you don't see that. But when you in your circle of life, when you are surrounded by people who are prayerful, people who are wise, people who maybe who even have experience that you don't have, they can be able to call you and say, hey, watch this, watch that. I find that has worked for me.
I like that, and you're saying the list people that I'm thinking also people that have your best interest
at heart. You know, people who, like I have people who say to me, I love you so much. I want you to get married. I love you so much. But more, I think, so well. Such kind of people. I think that has helped me. I could have fallen into desperation myself without knowing. I could have walked into a wrong relationship or a wrong marriage without even being aware. But it helps. It helps to be accountable also to the church as a whole. It helps that you know you are a daughter in the house. Be accountable to somebody. It helps to be accountable to your own family as well.
Okay.
It really helps because babang barona, you'll be dating a guy kwakustrating. Not even your brother knows this guy. Not even, at least bring him to your brother. At least say to your brother, meet this guy. Have a drink with him and get to, you know.
Also, the first mistake, one big mistake is they want to hide you.
We hide on the corner, and then this guy sorry, I wanna pay lobola. That's the only time the family gets to meet them.
I get you.
It's important to also try be transparent for your own good, for your own protection.
Yeah, because you can't really trust yourself too much.
You can't really. When you are in love, you can't trust yourself too much. When you have goosebumps, you can.
Let's help some single people. If at church, with what you've experienced, what should people not be saying to single people? What are the things that people say, maybe with good intentions?
Don't ask us when are you getting married. I'm looking at them on camera. Do not ask a single lady when are you getting married. Like, don't do that. You can't.
Yes.
You can ask a single lady when are you getting married. Those are things that you shouldn't be saying to single women. Don't come and flaunt your marriage in front of single women. Remember.
Like how?
We live in a society where people are going through pressures. They are facing so many pressures. Single women in the church, young single women in the church, there's pressure at work.
Yeah.
There's pressure of social life. There's pressure everywhere they go. They don't, when they are in the house of God, this is supposed to be a safe space for them.
Safe space, healing space.
This is supposed to be a healing space. This is supposed to be a space of comfort. So if I come to you as a married woman,
yeah,
I'm looking for sisterhood or I'm looking for motherhood from you.
Yeah.
I could be coming to you vulnerable, desperate, feeling discouraged because I am single.
Yeah.
That's all I need from you. It's that comfort. It's for you to hold my hand and say, and I might not understand where you are, but I'm here for you as a sister. The last thing that I want is for me to be coming to you.
Yeah.
And instead of encouraging me or comforting me, you flaunt your marriage to me. My husband
is beautiful.
My husband
I don't get
and I know I will sound jealousy, but I'm not. I'm saying this for the protection of young women in the church, because this is what I've learned through our mouth and the things we speak.
Yeah.
As leaders in the house of God, Kiruna who drive them to go out there and do the things they do on the street.
Because you painted this beautiful picture there, thinking,
we are not accommodating
really
for them. We don't accommodate them. We a lot of times young women in the house of God, they feel like they don't belong. So we wanna let's try create a platform for them to know that you belong here. Your singleness and your marriage status means nothing. Here it's in the house of God. We are brothers, we are sisters, we are mothers, we are fathers, we are siblings in the Lord. So if all that we ever do is my husband this, my husband that, it doesn't really help them. My marriage this, it doesn't really help them. I will tell you something that I know it will not, it might sound like I took it negatively. I did not, but I know that it does not sound right. When we had what did we have? A singles night the other day. And I think on the announcement was, are you a victim of Valentine's Day?
Okay.
We are trying to invite single people to come to the singles night. And the announcement was, are you a victim of... It sounds so funny and nice. And I understand. They were trying to make it
well,
fun
it's not
nice.
funny to me now. Yeah. But now that you're saying
but
it, I
to somebody else, Somebody who feels so alone, so lonely, so rejected, to them it could mean something else.
Because the word victim is like a seed that you've planted in
Now it
them.
was saying
Now they're
single people
feeling
are,
like
you see, single
victims.
people are victims some way or the other inside the house of God. So I took it as a joke, but somebody else could have received it in a negative way.
Yeah, because the word they walk away
They
with
were
is
this
victim.
victim. Now we are saying you are victim because you are single. So now my appeal to the Church of Jesus, let me say it on camera, is I know let's try to be mindful of people and the situations and the background that they come from before we talk some of the things.
Wow.
We will drive, especially young people, we will drive them out of the church and they will go live a double standard life. Why are we preaching but they're living a double standard life? But the question is, how do we treat them as married couples? How do we
Alright.
treat them?
I think it's a beautiful message, especially for church, and everyone will be more mindful. I'm thinking for families. How should families handle themselves around a single person when they feel like, okay, you're getting old, we would like to be there for you, but we don't know how to? How can families support without hurting the person?
I think, you know, what I've also learned from our families, this whole thing of you getting married, especially as a girl, it has become glory. It's like some sort of a self-glory for them. Because I tell you, like I said to you, I used to get these questions from some of my uncles. When are you getting married? But I tell you, if I were to go back now and ask any one of them, why do you want me to get married? They don't have a reason. They will not tell you why. They just want the wedding day.
Yeah.
They just want the wedding day where I'll be known ke nna malume, ke nna who received the lobola, ke nna ke nyadisa motloholo. They just want glory for that day. It's not even about your well-being. Ba bangwe, they just want to receive magadi so that the neighbor can know le nna ka tsatsi le leng ho na le bakgonyane ba tlileng and they stood at my gate and they knocked. Well, for some parents, they just want what's good for you.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I've noticed in our black society, this thing, it's like a self-glory to our families. All I'm saying to the families, as I said to the church, understand that you gave birth to your daughter or your son to raise them up so they can become a woman, a good woman or a good man someday in the future.
Yeah.
Their purpose to come here was not to get married. They were not born to get married. There's a purpose bigger that they came here to serve in the world. Understand that. Just as a family, understand that your daughter was born to come here and serve a certain purpose. Allow them space to serve that purpose. If marriage comes, it came. If it did not come, don't make them feel like they have failed you as a family. Because they are purpose. Because our families, a lot of times, they think we only came as daughters into families to serve a purpose of getting married for them. But it's not. We are here to serve the purposes of God. The purposes of God are not, it's not marriage, and it does not need marriage. If Paul could serve the purposes of God without a marriage, my take is the purposes of God don't need marriage. So support your child and let them be. Don't put them under the pressure. Don't keep, the other lady was saying, I saw this thing, I think on Facebook or something, say she sent her mother a picture of herself when she was, I think, 15.
Yeah.
So she sent that picture and said to her mother, I look like you here. No, a picture of herself at 28 says to her mother, I actually look like you here when you were young. And the mother's response was, yeah, and at 28 I was already married.
Whoa.
So we are even at that stage where we live a life of comparison. Your mother can come and say, at 30 I was married. Why are you not married at 30? Our journeys are not the same. Our purposes in this life are not the same. Support your child. Be there for them. Try to find out what do they aspire to do in this life and support them in that. Marriage is a blessing. It will follow. And if it does not follow, there's nothing wrong with your child.
That's powerful, because what I'm picking up as you're talking is that the person is already struggling with that thought on their own.
on their own,
And you don't have to come and just make it worse.
you know. Because once you start bringing all these questions, you are making it worse. How about maybe start by asking your daughter or your son, what's your take on marriage? Before you even say to them, when are you getting married? Before you even ask your son, because if even the guys, they are being forced, I feel they are being pressurized by families to get married. But maybe, how about asking first, what's your take on marriage? What what's your understanding of marriage? What's your take?
And depending on how they answer, you know how to
you
best
know how
support.
to best support them and how to best guide them. Because I know, maybe as a parent, that's your wish, your will, you want to get married, you want grandkids, but maybe before you say to them, when are you getting married, ask them, what's your take? What do you think of marriage? Then you will know where they are in their mind.
You started off focusing on women, so I'll close it off focusing on women. And I want to ask you your take on this. Women who are single, I wouldn't say desperate, but insecure about the fact that I'm single and I have 1, 2, 3 kids. I have kids while I'm single. And I want to get married, but I'm now stuck on this phase of what will happen to me.
I think what's your priority, Because now, when you are no longer single,
You're now single with kids.
You are now single, but there's kids here.
Yeah.
What's a priority to you? What's your priority? But there's nothing wrong with you aspiring to get married, even when you have kids. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Pray, ask God for guidance. Pray. God said we must ask anything from Him. But another thing that I have seen is how single mothers can also compromise the well-being of children just because they want to get married.
Oh, yeah.
It's another, maybe I should call it a pandemic. I've seen that happening a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, of single women, by law, you are married, you were married before, maybe the husband passed on, or you just had kids without marriage, and now you want to get married. And they more often than not, it's very easy for them to compromise the well-being of children just because they want to get married. I am not at that stage. I don't know how it's like to be a single mother. But being a woman, if a marriage was to come and I keep on out this one, it's only good for me, it's not good for my children. I would sacrifice it for the sake of these children. Because sometimes they are focused on you are going to be focused on your own happiness because you love this guy, he's charming you, Mara, this guy, he's not really willing to be a father to these children.
Then you have problems
the
rest of your life.
But a lot of times ladies are only focusing. Someone even said to me, what about my own happiness? But hey, there's children here. You are the one who brought them here. You have to sell your own soul for them if you need to. So my advice would be, if it's good to aspire to get married, but do it with wisdom. Seek godly counseling. Seek counseling from the elder. If you met somebody who really says they want to marry you, find out what's his take on this, because now you are bringing a blended family together. When he marries you, is he marrying these kids also? He needs to know he's marrying these kids as well. And it goes vice versa. Even as a gentleman, there's gentlemen who are single fathers. If you are going to bring a lady into your life, you need to know if he is marrying you with this child or not. How far is she willing to go to mother this child? Because if she's only here for you and not for the child, then I would rather say sacrifice marriage for the sake of this child. That's my take.
Thank you. Do you have a word for those that will think you are ambassador?
I'm not an ambassador. Ne? I'm not. I'm just speaking on singleness because it's a life I've lived for a long time. You want to know if I've dated before? I have. That's the truth. But there had to come a point in my life where I had to choose to walk with God. And I know how relationships can be disturbing in your journey with God. So I had to choose to close that chapter of my life and walk with God. I've been working with God for years. That does not make me an ambassador of singleness. But what I'm saying is, you are here to serve the purposes of God. You are not here to get married. A lot of times that's where we lose it. Find your purpose. Serve your purpose. The God who said in the Bible, if you seek first his kingdom and everything else shall follow you, he will make sure everything follows you.
Beautiful. I know this has blessed someone. If you know someone single in your life and you do not want them to make a mistake, please do share the video with her or him. But I want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing from your heart. Thank you for sharing about your life.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the nuggets of wisdom.
Thank you for having me.
I will not call you ambassador. I'll continue to call you sister, pastor. I'm good.
Thank you for
I'm
having
just
me.
proud that you found yourself and you found a way to be content.
I have by
Not
the grace
many
of God.
people find that part easy.
It's not many people who find it, and it's the grace of God that is really keeping me. Not a lot of people really find it. It's so easy to be content about their lives, especially when you get to my age. They normally say when you get to age about 30, 33, you start to panic. I am far from that age. It's not even funny. But it's not a lot of people who can really hold on and say, Lord, I'm happy, I'm content in God. But I've learned if you found your purpose and if you can be happy with your own life, be happy with your own, find your own happiness, find the things that make you happy. Live your life as if today's your last day on the planet. You'll not go wrong.
So I think what I will say to that as we close and say see you on the next episode is that if you're single and you own a business, if you're single and you're working, just understand that in the process or in the phase where you're feeling desperate or you're feeling lonely, look at your life and understand that the purpose of why you're there is beyond you getting married.
Yes.
Don't let your business struggle because now you're not bringing your A game into it. Don't let your job suffer because you can't be your best self with this at the back of your mind. Your purpose is bigger.
Bigger.
See you on the next episode.
Thank you.